Hello. Someone already clicked record. Hooray. Thanks to whoever did that. Here we are for the koha-US Systems Admin SIG,
Okay.
where we talk about systems administration, all the things that live in the admin module, including cert rules and system preferences. And then if we have time left over, we talk about SQL and reports and stuff and whatever else comes up, because everything kind of tangentially hits admin. That's my spiel. It's done. Hooray. Here we are. We have no agenda, but are open to questions or things from others. I have a thing first. Next month, I become the president of koha-US, and I would love to not run this meeting anymore. Does anyone here feel like running a meeting once a month that's pretty easy and lightweight?
I've done my time.
Fair. I don't know. Stick that feather in your brain. Think about it. That's a thing. That's a phrase that we say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll think about it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Get back to me. I'll probably bug everybody at the general meeting next month. Maybe send out an email or something. I'm not at the point of like, oh God, I'm just going to not show up and somebody else is going to have to do it. But I'm at the point of looking for volunteers. Anyway, that's my thing. What do y'all got going on?
Trying to open a library.
I saw your construction photos on Facebook this morning.
Making progress. I'm currently working in a conference room.
Wow.
We have a Koha instance with absolutely no material in it. We have an Aspen instance that's pointing to absolutely nothing except an empty Koha instance. So I'm having to slowly build everything from scratch. It's fun.
Seems like an okay place to be, given that you don't have windows in your building yet either. It's not.
Correct.
Well, that's fun. Do you have like things that you're really excited to get to do in a brand new Koha install? Like what's the most exciting thing about starting fresh?
I don't have bad data yet.
It's a good yet.
Our opening day collection is being, done by Baker and Taylor, so we'll see what they give us.
Yeah.
Getting all of that stuff in cleanly is going to be interesting. What's going to be fun is we're not going to physically open until late summer, but we're going to open digitally with Cloud Library via the Aspen instance and some other digital resources, probably in February. So we're going to have an online presence in a digital fashion, but not physically open yet. And so managing all that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I like the idea of being able to like define all your shelving locations and collection codes and stuff like from the ground up, brand new. That seems really appealing.
Yeah, we get to make fresh mistakes.
Yeah, it'll be really, really exciting. And then 3 months from now, you're like, oh, why did I do that? Now we're here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. Anybody else have exciting or bedeviling or I don't know, stuff going on they want to talk about?
I have a problem I need to fix, but I don't know if I can. We circulate hotspots to our patrons, and we're trying to figure out a way to get them to more patrons. Right now, it seems to be the same people put them on hold, and the hold list gets a mile long, and then they don't, people who end up at the end of the list just give up eventually. And so some of the things we're thinking about trying is maybe only allowing somebody to have a hotspot once every 3 months. But we can't figure out any way to do that except for making a whole lot of work for staff. So I'm wondering if anybody has any kind of like knowledge of limiting, once per a time frame or once per a household, because it doesn't really seem like there's anything in Koha that allows that very well.
No.
What are your limits for holds and for check how many you can have checked out at a time?
They're only allowed one checkout at a time. And then they can have a hold on it. Right now, it lets them have a hold on it while they have one checked out, which I'm
Yeah, because there's no limit on that. That's just that one system preference.
yeah.
That's how we have it. Unfortunately, we're having the same issue. Well, so we're having patrons use their family members to just kind of put consecutive holds on it so that they'll always have one. They'll drop it off and pick it up at the same time, basically.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So when you figure that out, I'd like to know too.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we're leaning towards is having staff place a note on the patron account, and so then when they go to check out, it says patron had either can Nix check out after this date or had one at this date, and then they have to do the math. I'm not liking that because it's already kind of hard to get them to read the notes on patrons' accounts as it is.
So so we have something to help with so a lot of our patrons are not returning them and they're still able to check them out, even though it's like, so what we've been doing, we created a new patron category where if you fail to bring it back on time 3 times, and you get 3 warnings. So you get like like an automatic, like the page staff just goes in and then just clicks on a predefined note and then it drops down, all that stuff. When they hit 3, they change the system, the patron category to adult limit, which blocks them from putting a hold or checking out a hotspot within a year. But it automatically changes back to adult with the cron job. We've asked them to fix the cron job so that it automatically changes back to adult patron category. But that's the only thing that I have that's somewhat related to limits for hotspots, unfortunately.
Sure.
Harley, when do they go back to regular adult? Is that just a year after they got limited?
Yeah, so we put we put like 12 months, and then within 12 months it'll just change back to adult. But
Sure.
it's a limit, and then we go back to adult.
That's interesting, but I'm not sure we'll want to add a new patron category. We already have so many in our system.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that would give that kind of metered access.
Development.
Yeah, and a big and interesting development. I put in the chat a bug to make the allow holds on patron possessions system preference like basically a circ rule instead, to be able to set it for a specific item type. And that would help. Like you could then make it so that hotspots in particular, you can't have a hold while you have one checked out. But that's not really addressing your issue.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't looked at the bookings module yet, but is that shifting into bookings instead of holds where it's just next available might help? Like I said, I've not explored the bookings module at all.
I glanced at it briefly, and I think I'd like to see a lot more development on bookings before I started using it. But I'm not, yeah, that could be an option eventually.
I don't know how that gets you around the issue of the same group of patrons really monopolizing them, though.
Yeah. I'm thinking the bookings will be nice. We had a solar telescope this last year, and we wanted to lend it out to other libraries, and it would have been really nice to have the bookings function for that, because we didn't know. We could have booked it for ourselves during our time frame when we wanted to keep it, and then they could have put holds on it. That would have been pretty nice to have.
So as like I said, the bookings module is fairly new, but if a feature in there could say you can only have book this one time within a 6-month period, one booking per whatever kind of organization, per patron category or something. And then it would force it to share out a little bit. Doesn't solve the problem where everybody in the family books it, but maybe if you have guarantor-guarantee relationships that link them all together, but that's a different issue.
Okay, well, I'm glad to know that I wasn't the only one who didn't know what to do.
You can kind of see like that idea makes sense. The like for this item type, you can check out one of them every 6 months or whatever. Like it's very complex, but I can see its utility.
If you don't have like, well, so say it's never figured out and we don't have a development for this, what's the consequences of like just leaving it as is? Like is this in response to a patron, like for complaint or staff complaining about it? Like what's the reason that you're wanting to change it?
Think basically it's, I'm the one who manages the hotspots, and I have found that it really feels like it's not serving the group of people that we want it to serve. But we're not even sure if this is the best solution for that. Our other thought was to not allow holds on them at all, which I don't want to do that either. And I'm not sure if that would even make it. I just want this to be a service that instead of replacing internet service for 4 families, we would like to give, a large amount of people an opportunity to use a hotspot for a couple weeks to get, job searches done or things like that, rather than just, oh, these 4 families don't need to have internet service because we've been providing it.
Have you considered splitting your collection into 2 and having some as a non-holdable item type to achieve that?
That was something that was mentioned. So yeah, that is I like that idea.
Like a lucky day hotspot.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and I even could see, because right now we do have Lucky Day materials that check out for 3 weeks and our hotspots check out for 1. But if we made hotspots a Lucky Day, it could be the same as our Lucky Day books. And we're actually looking at making them be allowed to be checked out for longer than a week, which is also why we would like it to be maybe they can have it for 3 weeks once every 3 months rather than 1 week every month. But it's a conundrum, and maybe we'll just keep doing it the way we're doing it too.
Maybe if there was more marketing to the people you want to serve, maybe the holds queue would grow a little longer, and those habitual ones would kind of have to wait in line a little bit.
My big excitement is that I would like to do is shorten how long they're waiting on the hold shelf, which we can do now with the new upgrade. So instead of them waiting for 7 days and somebody not coming to pick them up, maybe
Yeah.
only make them wait for 2 days and then they can get into the next person's hands rather than sitting on the shelf for a week.
Mhm.
I can hear the cries of outrage now. So good luck.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It makes sense though for things that are high demand and shorter checkout time. Kind of like the idea of a development to somehow like create the ability to have past usage inform priority. And like as I say it out loud, I also hate it. But the idea of like anybody who's had this thing in the last 6 months gets in like a lower priority than someone who hasn't had it in the last 6 months or something like that would do what you want, but also sounds just like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anybody have other circulation of high demand item thoughts?
I mean, priority wise, couldn't you like tank the priority on those holds for anybody that's already had it so that like the people that haven't had it yet will still go above them using those little arrows with the lines? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
totally could. Like run a report every day that tells you people who are in the holds list for the hotspot who have had the hotspot, assuming you're holding that circ information. But then that's somebody's job to like click a bunch of buttons every morning.
That's true.
You could probably get the report to give you a button right in the report results. And I do kind of like the idea of a report that includes a button to set someone's hold to lowest priority. Just because it seems arbitrary and mean. Not in the use case you're describing. Okay, it seems like we've maybe delved the depths of that question. What else, y'all? Anybody else have circulation rule problems they've been fighting with? System preferences that have been confusing them? Reports that you're trying to write that aren't doing the thing you want them to do?
Oh, how about a little Elasticsearch talk?
Ooh, we can try. What's up?
I seem to recall somebody saying that they were able to get a ticket to Nick at Bywater, and he made some adjustment that made the search in the Koha client better. So does anybody recall that, or it's a possibility? I've studied it a little, and I'll probably put in the ticket today with some questions I have. But does that ring a bell at all?
Yes, broadly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give it a try.
What are the sort of things what are the behaviors you're looking to change?
That it's so unforgiving. One typo or one apostrophe missing comes up with no results. And
Yeah, and I know there are some query parsing options to get it to be nicer about like apostrophes and possessives and that kind of stuff.
mhm,
I don't think I've seen like a perfect silver bullet. This makes it behave exactly the way you want it all the time. Answer.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll share what I learned
I do
next month.
remember
So,
Christopher Brandon talking about that, and it was like snowballing, I
Yeah.
think. He
oh,
had some extra plugin added that helped with stimming or something like that, which I'm also interested in. So I would love to hear back from your experience.
I
okay.
know there are options there, and long ago, like 3 years ago, helped libraries set that up. It does always
Okay.
end up in a place of like, well, I have had libraries come back to me and say, that's great. I love how it takes my search term and changes it into something else sometimes. But in other times, I'm really frustrated by the way it takes my search term and changes it into something else.
Mhm.
And that seems to be where this gets stuck. It's you can't quite have it
Yeah.
both ways all the time,
Right.
but
Hmm.
there is definitely a happy medium.
Hmm.
We just
Okay.
had something that came up recently that was, somebody searched for an ampersand and it was supposed to be an and vice versa, and it couldn't be found. And I thought that had been something that had been talked about and released, and I thought that had been fixed, but apparently not.
Feel like I heard that before, but at the Aspen meeting, the Aspen development meeting.
Oh, maybe that's where they fixed it.
Oh, that could be.
That does make sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, Aspen, I think, has thrown a bit of a wrench into Elastic for Koha, just because there are now so many libraries that are using Aspen for their front end, and that's the search they care most about. And so we just don't, I think, have as many people pushing for Elastic and Koha to get perfect because they're instead
Mhm.
pushing for Solar and Aspen to get perfect.
Mhm.
Sort of split our attention and efforts a little bit there.
Yeah.
But Barbara put a bug in the chat that's about apostrophes. Looks like, yeah, there was a change to how they are parsed.
So I guess I have something if we, oh, Edward, I think you wrote, oh,
Did your lights turn off on you?
I was waving to somebody that was waving back to me.
oh.
I'm in a conference room. It's one of the assistant city managers, so I acknowledged them.
Nice of you. Political.
Yes.
So one of our big libraries, it's one of the big three. So one of our regional libraries is going to be closed down for renovations for about a year. And I'm going to suppress the collection. And I can already see staying on it for hours, because I know that for batch item modification, you're limited by a couple thousand barcodes and stuff like that. But we have over 60,000 books for just that location. So does anybody do I just put in a Bywater ticket for this, or is this a thing? Okay.
Yeah, just let them do it.
Okay. It's okay then. Problem solved.
Yeah, that sort of tens of thousands of item edits is super easy for Bywater and less so from the staff interface. You could spend your day doing those batches, but let's not.
Yeah, no thanks. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Well, I've got a mini challenge and report challenge I could toss out. And I didn't find this in the wiki, but a report that shows items that are not currently checked out that are in a current library other than the home library. And it seems like that should be something really easy to do. But I couldn't quite get there yesterday. I started playing with it, but
I have a
answer is
report that does
Yeah.
that. We found right after we migrated, it was finding things that weren't moving quite like they were supposed to from the hold shelf. So I did a report like that. I look at it every day.
okay.
There's
Wow,
fewer of
wow.
them than there used to be.
Great. Good. Yeah. Yeah. We get the question comes up when something shows up on a holds list. And our branches are basically the lockers in the pickup window, are our two branches. So You're trying to figure out how to search the lockers for this item that's checked in. So anyway. Yeah, if you could share that report, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Can I have a copy of it as well, please?
Just put it in chat. It's not terribly long.
Sure, why not?
Okay, great.
Now this was one of the first reports I did after we migrated, so there might possibly be ways to improve things, but it'll work.
All right.
It works for me anyway.
Thank you so much.
Just in the interest of like learning and stuff. Here's that report. Well, you've done fun stuff in here.
Well, usually when I got tired of the group CONCAT is because I got tired of trying to copy a whole table into an email message. So I put all the information into that's my copy paste field.
Yeah, that's a nice, like, yeah, nicely formatted title information. And you're getting a whole bunch of information about, where things are.
Yeah.
But generally, it gives me things where it's not at its current branch. Home branch is not equal to holding branch. And there's so many fun ways to say not equals to.
Yeah.
Is both greater than and less than. Would be functionally the same to say not equals to.
Sure.
And it's not lost, and it's not withdrawn, and it's not damaged. Those three status fields in the item all default to 0. And then item.onloan. This is the thing I thought of first, Chip, when you said what you were trying to write. This is the easiest way to check if an item is checked out or not. There's a field in the item record on loan that will contain the item's due date if it's checked out and will be null if it's not checked out. So you don't have to like go look at the issues or anything. You can just get it right in the item record.
That's great.
Now this line you could probably take out. That's specific to us.
Yeah. I'm just going to delete that because it's going to make me not get any results at all.
Yep.
And we don't have any, it's not
on the whole
currently
shelf.
waiting. And it's not currently in transit. Or if it is in transit, it's nulled out. Yeah. This is probably not going to find me anything because I don't really have data that's gonna, got mad at me. Oh, my test box here is running on SQL strict mode, which makes it fussier than it should be. That's why it's giving me a weird error. I don't want to do that. All right. Your report's not going to play along with my test box.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's okay. And really, like, the most basic version of this would be my fingers. It's just, is it not checked out and is it not at home right now? But it doesn't give me anything.
Yeah, we have a lot of things that go on hold that we'll send stuff anywhere. You place it
Yeah.
on hold, we'll pull it off one shelf and send it somewhere else. So, you know, if I didn't eliminate everything in transit and everything that's on a hold shelf, it'd be a very long list.
Yeah, your report adds in all the other stuff that you
Yeah.
need to check that goes beyond just the like most basic. Yeah,
I just ran it on my system and I had like 39 things, mostly stuff that's at the bookmobile that's supposed to be here. But I did get a couple of items that didn't have any details in the copy paste column. Do you ever run into that?
No, so you've got a slightly different situation than I must have somewhere.
so the concatenation you've got there.
Oh, it might be a coalesce. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
don't have anything, it's gonna roll it out. Yeah.
Yeah, concatenations always go null if any one thing within them is null,
Okay.
which can be
So-
an easy thing to break a report on.
I hate to think what our Knox collection would look like if I hadn't realized pretty quickly that this was happening.
Yeah.
2 years on, it doesn't happen much anymore, but every now and then we need to try to track something down. It tells me, whoops, you gotta go find this.
Apparently the items in question have no barcode, so that would do
Oh,
it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Mine's
Oh,
still pulling up not for loan status, but it is an ordered, like, it's for ordered materials, just for like not for loan ordered materials. Everything else that's not for loan is not there, but
That's why I think that Maine, that's our cataloging headquarters facility. So if it's on order, it's Maine, and I just don't show me anything that's at Maine.
Yeah, and there's nothing else in that report to filter out not for loan values.
Mhm.
Be an easy customization though. If you know you've got on like everything that's on order for you is not for loan -1, just add that into the where. Say tell it not to show you those things.
it was really nice though. I'll be using
Glad.
this a lot. Thank you.
yeah.
Glad that it's
thanks.
useful.
I have a report question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just posted this in the Slack channel and then Wally reminded me that the systems meeting was going on. So I was like, all right, I'll hop over there and ask.
Thanks, man.
So it's the time of the year where we're getting asked like what were our top titles for the year. So I started using a report and like I noticed this one Diary of the Wimpy Kid series had like more checkouts than any other title in the whole system. And then I was like, that doesn't seem right. So then I realized that the report is grouping by bibliotitle, which so if you have any,
Oh.
yeah. So I think I have it better now because I have it grouping by biblionumber. But I was wondering if I could get some eyes here to see if this looks about right. What I'm trying to do here is get the top 20 titles to date through the year in our juvenile collection by checkouts and renewals. And I borrowed most of this from what I thought would have been the reports library, but I can't find it in there now.
You don't happen to have Metabase, do you?
We do.
You
Ooh,
do?
do you have a
'Cause
suggestion for me?
I did something like about a year ago. I get this question every year. So the week between Christmas and New Year, I spent when everything was quiet playing
Mhm.
around in Metabase. Let me see if I can find it. I'm gonna need it in a few weeks because that question's gonna start happening again.
Yeah, it's
Where-
that time of year.
I don't know if David is still on here, but I know McKinney, Spencer has the top so many items per month on his Metabase dashboard.
Oh, really?
And
Yeah, I can grab that and post that. Do you want to look at the native SQL basically from that?
I'll look at anything.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll look through there and grab that.
All right, thanks.
Christy, overall, your report looks good. The only thing I would change is that you probably, let me share my screen again. It doesn't super matter in the course of a whole year, but this is going to cut 1 day's checkouts out of your report.
Oh,
Because the date time is a date and time.
mm-hmm.
And when you compare it to just dates, it assumes zeros. So what this really is doing is checking how many checkouts happened between the stroke of midnight on the 1st and the stroke of midnight on the 10th. So it's not actually counting anything on the 10th.
Okay. So could I bump it to the 11th or?
Really what you want to do,
Okay, there's a better way.
yeah, is to just take this and put the date function around it, which says, forget about the time, only compare the date part.
Okay. Is there any way to copy that into the chat? Because I
Yeah.
can't read. It's so tiny.
Absolutely.
I've got to.
Where'd the chat go? Come back, Zoom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that says statistics. That still says
Yeah. And
what
that
date. Just so there's just basically a date before the parentheses statistics.datetime now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a bad search, guys.
Let's
Forget
see if I
sometimes
can
that
get
the
that
whole
to
internet
work.
isn't just about Koha. And that's this helpful note in the wiki that says, hey, if you do date times on dates or vice versa, it's gonna, mess you up. And again, like for a report that's looking at a whole year, 1 day's worth of checkouts aren't gonna throw your numbers off a ton. But if you're looking at like transactions in a smaller date
Yeah, a
range,
week or
that'll mess
more.
your numbers up.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
So I'll keep trucking on this.
That SQL code is a little too large for the post, so I'll post it in the reports on the Slack. I'll post it in there.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you.
Mhm.
Out of curiosity, how many of you are on using Metabase?
Oh, we are. I love it.
Well-
It's
Yeah, it's
We
great.
have it installed on a local server, which is a little slow, but not by water, but it does the job.
Okay. Yeah,
But
we're
it's not
looking
available to the
to-
public. We keep it just
Makes
we
sense.
just play around with it. What does this do? We haven't really launched it to any effect.
Yeah,
And
we're switching to it in the next couple of months, so I need to learn how to use that, and I'm looking forward just to the SQL import part.
yeah, we're just getting started with it. We have our training on Friday. Looking forward.
Good
I
luck.
like it because as somebody who's not a pro at SQL, you can say like, I want to see this and this and filtered to this, and then you can look at what that SQL would look like. There's kind of like a lot of extra stuff in there because they always translate it to make column headings look pretty and things like that, but you get it's a good learning tool too.
Put McKinney's public Metabase dashboard in the chat just because it's fun. If anyone's wondering what would be fun to do with Metabase, make a bunch of publicly available statistics.
That's actually how I learned about Metabase, was the koha-US presentation that he did.
He also does a monthly, that's how he does his monthly report for the library board. It's just a really fancy Metabase dashboard.
Nice. Ed, are you guys using it?
We will be. We
Okay.
we have a Metabase instance that points to no data anywhere. No, and I plan on pulling things in similar to what they're doing in McKinney, pulling in other data sheets for programming and stuff like that, and using it for more than just Koha.
Cool.
And do you know if one is using the ERM module to pull usage data via Sushi, does that then become accessible within your Koha Metabase?
I do not.
That is interesting, Andrew. I'm gonna have to look at that now.
See, because that's my big like disappointment in Metabase is that it doesn't, as far as I know, have a way to like federate your usage stats from like Overdrive or Hoopla or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
For that, like, I love the idea of I have a web page that I print once a month that is my board report. But like, if I'm going to report to the board on usage, I need all that e-usage stuff, and I want that to be all in there together.
David, get to work on that.
I will look at the schema and pull some tables and see what comes out of it.
And I just couldn't remember how much that ERM stuff was actually saving that data in your Koha and how much it was grabbing it and showing it to you.
Yeah, because I think it overwrites on it itself when it does a harvest. But yeah, I'll look into that for Metabase. Sounds good.
That's one of the, having Metabase internal on our own servers, that we've also hooked it up to PC Res so that we can get our computer statistics and to pull them in one place. And whenever they ask, I say it's over there. And just so, having our own control and decide, what databases we connect to, we just connect to a variety of databases. And I think from a demo a while back, Bywater said they would work with us if we wanted to move to hosted to keep, access databases other than Koha.
Sure.
And they do, because
Yeah.
McKinney has that set up.
Yeah.
Sally, on the Metabase report you just posted,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a look at it after the meeting. I might have a question or two for you.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
If I can remember anything about what I did a year ago when I set this up.
Yeah.
I mean, first it was just, okay, where did I put that silly thing? Was the first
That's
question.
been the process this week too.
Mine's not nearly as colorful as McKinney's.
I just realized I might have a non-reports question. Is anybody using Biblioteca's Open Plus?
What does that do?
What it theoretically does, and I know of one Koha library that Bywater's connected me with that uses it, is it's one of those systems that allows people access to the library outside of hours, within specific hours that are unstaffed hours. And I'm curious as to how that's going to work. And, so we'll figure it out as we go.
What kind of access?
Physical access. Basically what they'll do is scan their barcode, type in their PIN number, and the door will open.
What?
And they'll go in. Yes.
What's the product called again? Biblioteca Plus?
Open Plus.
Open Plus.
From
Ed, I do have a library that does that in my consortium. I can send you their contact information if you want to talk to their director.
I would
I
appreciate
don't
it.
have any like real insight other than that, but they can tell you how
Well,
it's come for them.
what you might be able to help me with is what attribute they're using for that access. Fayetteville is the folks I've been talking to, and they're just using, the sort one, yes or no. And if it's yes, then through SIP, it allows the door to unlock. So they've got to have something in there that, unless they just allow anybody that has a library card in.
I wouldn't put it past them. Because
Okay.
I don't think that they definitely did not come to me when they set it up. They just set it up. So my guess is they're not limiting. They may be limiting some of, like, I'm fairly certain they're limiting, like, if the patron has a restriction, they can't get in. If there's a restriction on the account, if they've got fines over our limit, that sort of thing. But I don't think that they're flagging them outside of that. I think they're just using standard SIP flags to block people.
Okay. What Fayetteville does is they have an orientation for them. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to have an orientation. If you're coming in the building and we're not there, you're going to sign that you understand all of our rules. And it's a little bit more than just getting a library card.
Yeah, and they have a form they have on their website that people have to fill out. I can put that in the chat if anybody wants to look at that. It's just a Google form. But again, beyond that, I'm not really sure what their setup's like.
Cool. Thanks.
And I put a bug in the chat that is very old, from a library in Sweden that's doing something similar, and it sounds like currently it may not be possible to use an extended attribute for that SIP check. It might need to be the B sort 1 or B sort 2.
I don't see any good reason not to use sort 1 or sort 2.
Yeah,
They're just there.
Well, you again have the luxury of defining your data scheme right now. Nobody's seized your sort 1 for something else.
All right. Thank you. See, there was a little systems admin talk.
A long time ago, I opened up a support ticket from the Disney Technical Library. I don't remember if they're still on Koha or still a Bywater partner, but they had an old security door from a zoo that they wanted to adapt into a SIP-based self-check, and I still just like think about that some days. The Disney Library with their weird zoo door that they turned into a self-check.
I have a reports question, mostly just because I am so beginner level at SQL. I've been trying to be able to get a list of bib records that were modified within a certain time period, and they're just internally modified. We don't do circulation or anything. So it would just be add, delete, modify. But for some reason, I cannot get it in the SQL report to connect the bib record to the action logs. I don't know how to bridge that.
Sure. Generally, so broadly, you're going to join the action logs table to the biblio table on the object in the action logs, or an action that is in the cataloging module is going to be the biblio number. I started to say this all out loud and realized as I was saying it that it doesn't make a lot of sense out loud. So why don't I share my screen and show you what I'm talking about?
That would be great.
Yeah, I could just describe this abstractly, no problem. Boop, boop. All right, so we're going to say select, oh goodness gracious. From biblio, we'll call that B. We're going to left join action logs, we'll call those A. And we're going to join that on b.biblio number equals a dot object.
That's where I was losing it. Okay.
Yeah. And we'll also say a dot module equals, what's this, cataloging? Does it have a U in it?
It's got a U in it, cataloging. No E
Damn
after the
it.
U though.
Oh, I can't spell in British. It's like ask for some stuff. Sure, and all the action log stuff. This shouldn't give me too much data because I'm on a test site where I haven't done that much stuff. But basically, I've said give me every edit we've ever done in the cataloging module.
So instead of saying is not null, I could throw a time frame
Yeah.
there, right? I could say,
Yeah.
yeah, here to here. Okay.
Here, let's edit a thing and make it actually show up here. Oh, I didn't like that. Oh, I didn't care about that. Never mind. Ooh. This is where I start cataloging to make people laugh, and sometimes it's a problem. You could also limit this by action if you only want to see modifies. Like this would also show you record creation, record deletion, anything else
Right.
that cataloging module. This is also going to find edits to items because those go in the log the same way. So I would probably want to say, see how this info box starts with biblio because it was biblio that was edited. So I probably also want to say and a dot info like biblio to sort out all the edits to items.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it's joining stuff to the action logs is always weird because the columns aren't going to match up and really once you get into it. In the reports library, there is a section about action logs that explains what's in all those fields for the action log. That's the part that really I struggle to remember what's the value
And I
of the object field for the
looked
different
through
types of
that
logs.
and just was like, that's nice. How do I get there?
Yeah. Yeah, and so it means that for cataloging,
Right.
you're going to join on biblio or item. And like similarly, if you're looking at fines, that you're going to join the borrower's table to the action logs on the borrower number equals the object, or I guess like account lines. But yeah, it makes you do fancier joins than you usually have to do.
And this is, like I said, I am a novice of the novices. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm pretty sure there's just a recent terrific every other Thursday video about the words you can't use in SQL too. And it's one of the ones that tripped me up is I kept wanting to see the create ones. And so you have to work around that. I would usually do a like re-ate. So
Yeah, the action log reports are definitely where you're going to run into those forbidden words the most often. We have a few minutes left. Who else has a big burning question? Or a small smoldering question? Does somebody want to sing a little song and do a little dance?
Could I ask a follow-up question? I'm looking in Slack and Eric kindly replied on my report and he said you'd probably want to use the statistics table to get things like the collection code, the location, and the item type because those may have changed since the items were added. or at the time they were checked out. I don't think if I'm grouping it by the biblio number, okay, so I understand why you would do that, but I don't think it's going to break my numbers. Does
And that sounds plausible. Yeah, so the statistics table records an item's item type and collection code, and I think shelving location as well, at the moment that item was checked out. Whereas the report you've got is
what it is now
for items that are in the Juve collection right now. So like, I don't know, say you had a book that was shelved in the adult nonfiction and got checked out 5 times and later got edited into the Juve collection. It would get counted in your report even though it wasn't Juve at the time of its checkout. This like probably get a more realistic application of this would be if you have like a new book collection and things spent their first 6 months there, but you really want to count them in their real collection.
So then you would use items then, right?
Yeah, in that case, you'd want to use items to say, don't count these as new because they were new when they were checked out, count them as Juve because they're Juve now.
Okay.
It's one of those where like, I don't think either bit of data is right or wrong. It's just you kind of want to know what you're counting and how you're counting it.
Exactly, which is why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay, good advice all around from everyone.
Did anybody think of a song and dance? No. Sally's asking the hard-hitting questions in chat. Ed intends to only let patrons into the library from 6 to 8, and Sally wants to know how he gets them out.
So you could still have that slumber party.
I
You
have
just have
no
to arrive
idea how
before
we're gonna
8
get them
o'clock.
out.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that's going to work.
Did you bring the robot from McKinney with you? Can you arm it?
No, but there we go. And yes.
Just start playing really loud, really annoying music at 8 o'clock.
Well, you got to understand your audience too. Some of them might like it.
Yeah, and part of the idea is for us not to be there, for it to not be staffed. So
Right.
we're gonna have to figure all that out. That's why I want to talk to libraries that are using it.
Yeah. Starts looping closing time louder every time it plays.
Could be Baby Sharks. That would probably do it.
Anything from Coco Melon, really.
We've got a real playlist going on there now. You can just cycle through it.
I don't know, Daphne, they're in Texas.
Or the AC, just yeah.
Yeah, the AC might be your better bet.
That's some bad things to the collection though. Cycling the AC on and off.
But it would control the patrons, and isn't that our #1 priority at all times? All right, we're working really hard now and answering all of the important questions. Does anyone have an actual thing to talk about? That seems like a no. And in any minute now, the clock is going to tick over and it's going to be 11, and that's going to be it, the end of our meeting. I will repeat one more time, accepting volunteers for taking over this meeting. If anyone is interested in running the koha-US Systems Administration SIG.
I need a couple more years before I can do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You don't got to know everything. I just like to talk a lot. If I shut up, other people would answer questions. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.